Today we'll be giving a gameplay overview and review of the game HexAgony, created by Andy Allen and published by New Entertainment Limited. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode with To Die For Games. I'm Mandy, the board gaming pinup girl. My fellow hosts are
Tracy, the gaming maven.
And I'm Steph, the games teacher.
HexAgony plays in about 20 minutes, is suggested for ages 8 and up, and accommodates 2 to 3 players.
If you only have a couple minutes to see a particular part of the video, skip over to the gameplay, skip to the end of the review. We have timestamps below so that you can find the part that you want to see.
We would love to hear what you thought of today's video or what you want to see next, so feel free to leave a comment below. If you don't want to miss out on our next episode, click the subscribe button and you'll know as soon as we post them. We've got HexAgony all set up and ready to go, so let's get to it. Objective. Players make as many hexagons in the chosen color as possible while trying to prevent other players from completing their own. The player with the most hexagons at the end of the game wins.
Components: 48 multicolored tiles, one of each solid color, red, blue, and white tile, and the rulebook. All right, now that we know what we're playing with, how do we set up? Tracy?
Setup. Players choose which one color they want and take the solid matching color tile. The multicolored tiles are mixed up and distributed amongst the players. For an advanced variant, you can use a bag to place the multicolored tiles in. Now that we are all set up, how do we play? Stephane?
Gameplay. Players take one tile from their pile or the bag and place with at least one side on the tile, touching a tile on the table. Note: each side of the placed tile must match the same color on an existing tile on the board if those sides are touching when placed. Players can choose to play their solid color tile if they can do so legally. Play continues in clockwise direction until all tiles have been placed. So how does the game end? Mandy?
Game end. Players will score 1 point for each completed hexagon. Players also score a bonus point if their solid color tile is surrounded by tiles of the same color. This pattern will have created 4 overlapping hexagons and thus will score 4 points. The player with the most points wins the game. So that is how you play HexAgony. So now we're ready to do a review of HexAgony. What did you guys think?
It's a really simple game that I think for advanced gamers may be a little too simple, but for families it's very accessible for young kids to learn how to play.
I agree. It's a little too light for my personal tastes, but still a very accessible game that most people will be able to learn in no time flat.
For myself, I thought this game was okay. I just don't know if it's my type of game personally. I could see people enjoying it. It's okay for me. So we'll go on to explain where that's coming from and we'll give our final thoughts as well. So artwork and theme, what did you guys think?
The artwork is fairly simple. We have 3 basic colors, or white's not really a color, but white, red, and blue. So there's not a lot of theme in that sense like other games would. It's an abstract game, so that's kind of expected.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's very, very bright, so it would appeal to people who like it. Like you see it on a board, on a table, and boom, there it is. So it is really nice to look at.
So, color for me, I love color. So anything with color I'm instantly drawn to. So in that regard, I liked it. Do you think that would affect colorblind? How would that?
It's red-blue as opposed to red-green. So the most common color blindness should be fine.
Okay.
So red, white, and blue should be. I'm sure that was probably because if you look in the history of the game on Board Game Geek,
yes, you're right.
The earlier versions had red, yellow, and blue, and they changed it to red, white, and blue.
You're right.
Possibly due to people with color blindness issues.
So that's a bonus. So definitely if you have that issue, this game could work for you. Quality of components.
The quality was fantastic.
Excellent.
Super solid. Like you could probably possibly break windows with those things. They are solid. I like the little clink they make. It's nice.
I agree. It had the pieces had the feel of like a good hefty poker chip.
Right.
Maybe not quite as heavy, but you
Right.
still had a feeling like you were holding a substantial piece in your hand when you were playing, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, so I definitely agree. The weight of them, I was surprised. I was expecting something papery. I'm like, oh, but no, it was a nice surprise. It was like a plastic, like a thick plastic. Anyway, I thought it was very, very good. So quality of components was excellent in this game. Game mechanic.
It's very true to the abstract nature.
Right.
So it's very abstract in that you're, in this case, shapes, or you're thinking ahead some patterns.
Right.
And such. So it really follows the style of that type of mechanic.
Right.
Agree. The abstract mechanics in this one were fairly light. I would have liked to have seen more variants or more advanced optional rules that you could play with, more advanced players. None immediately jumped to my mind, but I'm not a board game designer. Maybe somebody else can come up with some more advanced rules to keep it interesting for the more strategic players.
Right. And I'm not overly strategic, but I did find, I agree with Stephane, there could have been some other alternatives. I know they had suggested, we talked about earlier, some of the, one of the other ways that you could play the game with the hidden component with the bag. And that definitely upped the excitement factor for me versus the traditional way. So I thought that was good, but if they developed maybe a few more, exactly what you're saying for the more strategic player, I think that would be a good idea. Something to think about. Similar games.
Lanterns is one that comes to mind because you're matching color to color. So that's very similar to that abstract feel.
Different, but still similar. Connect 4, somebody else mentioned it. I think Connect 4 does have some similarity to this in that, you're trying to line up your pieces in the right orientation. So yeah, that's what I'm going with.
What is that one? It's Cortex?
Yes.
Cortex.
That was the other one I was thinking.
Yeah, it's slightly different gameplay, but it does have the idea of matching with these like
Edges.
Edges, that's right. So similar in that sense. So those are the ones that I can think of. So if you've played any of those, you'll understand the mechanics. I mean, it's fairly straightforward, and they're similar. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts is if there was something that they could add to it to make it a little more meaty for me, because I do like abstract, but even for me, an abstract has to have just that little bit of something to it, and it doesn't quite yet. I think if they can find a way to do that, I could see myself playing it again.
Right.
I agree with the fact that the tiles really only have 2 variants other than the 3 solid color tiles. You really only have on any turn your choice of left or right, A or B. If they had more variety, or if the rules allowed for more options during gameplay, I would really enjoy it a lot more than I did.
Right. And for me, I have a very short attention span. Anybody else who suffers from ADHD will know as soon as it becomes very monotonous or the same type of thing, your brain switches off and you're on to something else. I play many games that are over 4 hours. I played a lot of short games, but if they're exciting, kind of keep my attention, if it's switching up or just something a bit different or makes my brain work, I can stay interested. I had a really hard time with this one. It was fine in the beginning, but then when it was the same kind of thing, my brain kind of shut off a little bit. So that's where it comes back to maybe throwing in something else to kind of just make it a bit more complex. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, where I said it was okay. Totally get it. It's a light game. I have colleagues who really enjoy this game. But for me personally, I think it just needed a little bit more. Yeah. So I think that's it. We've covered it. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.